Alrighty. So I want to run through a Borda example. I'm going to show all the work that I would expect to see on a written submission that you guys were turning into me. Okay. So for each of these, I'm going to write a bunch of products, remember. And so for every product, I use parentheses. You could put a dot for multiplication between them or an X. But the two numbers, this is how many voters, right? So how many voters is in this parenthesis, and then the next one is how many points earned by whatever selection they had, all right? So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns here. So I'm gonna see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 products right there. So I want every column to be captured in one of these products. So the way this works is these 5 voters all felt the same way. So I put a 5 right there in a parenthesis. And then those 5 voters, since I'm tabulating A's points here, 5 voters voted for A in first place, which gives 3 points, right? So each of those 5 voters is giving A 3 points. And that's that. And then we just move down to the next column. So now these 4 voters, so how many voters and then how many points do they distribute? So each of these voters is voting for A in first place. A first place vote is worth 3 points. So these 4 people are also giving 3 points, okay? Notice I don't just do in my head, say 5 plus 4 is 9 and do that, right? I'm showing one product for each column right there. And so the next one now, 7 voters. These 7 voters voted A in last place. Right, they put A in third place, which is only worth 1 point. So 7 voters are giving A 1 point right there. And then we keep going. 2 voters are giving A second place, so 2 points each. So 2 times 2. And finally, these 5 voters had A in the last position, third position, which is only worth 1 point. All right. And that's that. So again, to double check before we move on, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 products. Okay, there we go. So that's it. And now, so the way I recommended, and again, so for online homework, you do what you want. For paper homework, this is how I ask you to do it. Is now let's do these multiplications. So instead of just adding with a calculator, let's show one more step here, and I'm just going to do all these products and then add them up at the end. So 5 times 3 is 15. Plus 4 times 3 is 12, plus 7 times 1 is 7. Let me try to keep these under their respective products, 7. Plus 2 times 2 is 4, and plus 5 times 1 is 5. Alrighty, and that's it. So now I can add those up. Let's see if I can do this in my head. So 15 and 5 make 20. 20 and 12 is 32, and 7 is 39, and 4 makes 43. Did I do that correct? That's 27, 34, 38, 43. Okay. And I call those 43 Borda points, right? So if you want to call that 43, let's say 43 Borda points. All right. And that's it. And so now all I've got to do is just calculate the total number of points for candidate B, and then do it for C, and then see who has the most points. And it's as simple as that. Okay? The way that I would, again, recommend for my own sake of reading stuff on paper or on a screen, rather, which is not always so easy, is so we got a line of the products, and then under that, equal to the line, we multiply those products and get those numbers, and then equals our total. What I might ask if you're on lines, paper or something is maybe skip a line. So I'm not going to do that here because I'm on the board, but maybe I would skip a line and then set up B, and I'll do a different color, and it's just going to be the exact same thing. And what we did last week is, so I said you could set this all up on paper if you wanted to. You could do A and set up your parentheses, right? Skip a line for the totals right there, and maybe skip a blank line, and then you could set up B. And so what's the purpose of doing that? Is you're going to have 2 parentheses, right? 2 parentheses for the numbers being multiplied, 2 parentheses, 2 parentheses, and 2 parentheses, right? So I call these products because we're multiplying. 1 product for every column. Remember this number, the first number, the 5, the 4, 7, 2, and that 5, what were they? They were the number of voters that felt whatever way, right? So those were these numbers in the columns. So for all the letters, those things are going to be the same. So 5, 4, 7, 2, and 5. Okay? So if you wanted to on paper, just to say, because this is like, I don't want to say tedious, but it's a little bit time consuming showing all these steps. You know, if you feel like doing that, you can set that up first, however you want to manage. Okay, we ditch those red arrows and let's step through B's points. Okay, so these 5 voters have B in second place. Second place is worth 2 points, so 5 times 2. Right, and so again, it's not the position, it's the points that I'm putting in the second parenthesis. These 4 voters have B in last place. Last place is worth 1 point, so 4 times 1. 7 voters have B in first place, so 3 points, so 7 times 3. These 2 voters also had B in first place for 3 points, so we put a 3. And these 5 voters have B in second place, so 2 points, and there we go. All right, and so now again, I'll just multiply and then add them together. So here, 5 times 2 is 10, plus 4 times 1 is 4, plus 7 times 3 is 21, plus 2 times 3 is 6, and plus finally 5 times 2 is 10. Okay. Excuse me. So let's add those up. So 10 and 10 is 20. 4 and 6 makes another 10, so 30. And 21, so 51. 51 Borda points. Or you could just say points. All right. Cool. We got one more to go. C, and then we'll see who wins. Yeah, so that's that. So again, now I want to tabulate C. Again, on paper, I would skip a line. I'm limited with my board space here. So if you use different colors like this, you don't necessarily have to skip a line. Again, anything you can do to make it easier for me to grade, I'll be like, yeah, this is great. I'll look at it, and I'm less likely to sort of investigate every little detail. If it looks nice and the final answers look nice, sometimes I grade quickly like that. I'm like, I'll check the final answers, and then I'll just glance at this and be like, well, they got the final answers. It looks like the right setup, so I'm going to assume they probably did that correct. Okay. If it looks like a big mess and I have to hunt to see what you wrote, now I'm probably looking a little bit more carefully. Okay, so I'm going to set up my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 products again with parentheses to represent the 5 columns. The first number in every parenthesis is the column number. So here, 4 times something plus 7 times something. And I could look up there, or I could just look at the previous rows I've done. Plus 2 times something. And finally, plus 5 times something. All right. So, candidate C. These 5 voters have C in third place. That's 1 point. We put a 1. 4 voters have C in second position, which is 2 points. So we put a 2. These 7 voters also have C in second place, so another 2. These 2 voters have C in last place, so only 1 point. And these 5 voters have C in first place, and so 3 points. All right. Okay, multiply. So 5 times 1 is 5, plus 4 times 2 is 8, plus 7 times 2 is 14, plus 2 times 1 is just 2, and plus 5 times 3 is 15. Alrighty, so let's add these guys together. So I like to form round numbers the way I do this. So 5 and 15 combines to 20. 8 and 2 is 10, so 20 and 10 makes 30, 44, right? So 44 points. Okay, there, we have our winner. And let me mention another phrase that they use on Pearson, which I haven't really mentioned in class, but hopefully you guys can figure it out. On a lot of these Pearson questions, they ask you for the winner, and then they also ask you for a complete ranking. Okay, a complete ranking is based on whatever voting method you're using, rank them from top to bottom. So in this case, the winner is, what do we have? 43 for A, 51 for B, and 44 for C. So 51 is the highest number there. So B is our winner. Okay? A complete ranking sort of from best to worst. And again, this depends on the voting method that we used. But here, B has the most points. So B is in the best one. C has 44. A only has 43. So C comes in sort of second according to this method here. And then A is third. Okay? So they have you doing complete rankings. On the previous assignment, when you're doing the plurality with elimination, right? At the end of that process, you have a winner. So that would be your best ranking, right? So whoever wins, whoever was with that, so when you get down to 2 people, or whoever got eliminated last, who's ever still around, would be your second position. right? And then the very last, whoever was in last place in that complete ranking would be the first person who got eliminated. So whoever you eliminate in round one. So in that one, you can kind of build the complete ranking as you go, maybe from the bottom up, right? If you eliminate somebody in round one, they're going to be your least popular person, and so forth. Okay, so there we go. We got a winner. We got a complete ranking. On the online portion, you don't, there's nothing that you're showing me, so I don't care if you do all this work or not. On the paper stuff, so group work on Wednesday, this is how you want to do it. Alrighty. Yeah. So there's just one more thing now that I want to talk about. And again, this is something that we did on last time when we discussed this method. If I had done 0 points like previous 0, 1, 2, the winners would be exactly the same. All these numbers would be a little bit less though, right? Because the number of points I had would have been smaller. So if we used our old method, the values would be different, but the results would be the same. This ranking would come out the same. Okay. Let me write these numbers down. B had 51 points. C had 44, and A had 43. Okay. So there are some questions on the Pearson that involve the total number of points given in a particular election. All right. So in other words, let's think of total voters here. Total voters. How many different voters participated in this election? Let's add up those numbers up top. So 5 plus 4 plus 7 plus 2 plus 5. So that's 5 and 5 is 10. 6 and 3 is 13. So 23. So 23 voters voted in this election. How many points did each voter give out to candidates? So in other words, if I'm a voter, right? If I'm a voter, and let's say that whatever column, let's say this is my preference, A, B, C, right? That would mean I'm one of these 5 people. Well, that means I gave A 3 points, right? I personally gave B 2 points, and then I gave C 1 point, right? So as one individual voter, basically if you add up these points, that's how many points each voter gives out. So as one individual voter, I gave out 6 points. Okay. How many points should there be total in this election? Well, there's 23 voters. Each voter is giving out 6 points. And so if we multiply that, we should get the total number of Borda points altogether. All right. 6 times 3 is 18. Carry that 1. 6 times 2 is 12. And the 1 makes 13. So 138 points is how much there should be in this election. Let's add up these values, right? These were our totals. Let's double check that that's going to add up. Okay. So 51 points for B, plus 44 points for C, plus 43 points for A. 1, 4, 3, that makes 8. 5 and 4 is 9, plus 4 makes 13. And what do you know? Exactly the same, right? So that's the idea. Okay. So what could we do with that information? So let's hypothetically say there's a question like this. I tried to arrange the questions here. So I think the very first one you do tells us the new point scheme. And I did that on purpose in case if someone misses class today. So now I'll post this video. So it should be on, I'll send a YouTube link. I made the first homework question so that it basically gives you the new point structure that we're going to be using right off the bat. And so even if you missed today's lesson, if you just read that question, say, okay, last place gets 1 point and so forth. So let's say I have an election with 4 candidates. So not this election. Let's just think of a brand new one. So 4 candidates, and let's say 15 people vote in that election. Okay. So the question is, how many points should there be? So if there's 4 candidates, then you're going to have a first place, a second place candidate, a third place, and then your last place will be 4th place in this case. Okay. So the question is, how many points does each voter give away if there's 4 candidates? So with our new method, last place gets 1 point, and then up from there. So third place gets 2 points. Second place here would get 3 points, and first place would get 4 points. Not 4th. Okay. So what's that total? 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 is 10. Okay. So now, since there's more candidates, every voter is giving out more points than they did previously. all right? If there were 5 candidates, then someone would be getting 5 points. So you'd add 5, you'd have 15 points total, right? So that's the idea. So now every voter gives out 10 points. There are 15 voters, so 15 times 10 is 150 points altogether. Okay, so you'd want to calculate something like that. Then there's some questions. So based on that, so let's think we're in this election now. We've got 4 candidates, and there were 15 votes. And let's just say that we're told this, that A received, let's say, 45 border points. B, and I'm just making these numbers up, B, let's say, received 25 points, and C received 30 points. And so then there's the question could be, how many points did D receive, and who's the winner? Right? So how many? So I don't even know. I don't see the preference schedule here, but we can still answer this question. So if I were told that there's 4 candidates, A, B, C, D, I'd have to figure out how many points then each voter gives. So 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1, each voter gives 10 points. Now, then I also know how many voters there are. There's 15 voters, so 15 times 10 gives me the total number of points that are going to get distributed. All right. So now what I can do is I can add these guys together. So I've got 45 plus 25 plus 30. Those are the points that are sort of already accounted for, right? That's how many I know how many are out there. So 5 and 5 is 10, and now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So that adds up to 10 again. So there we go, 100 points, right? 45, 50, 67. Yeah, so that's 100 points. So now the question is, how many points did D get? Well, we know there's 150 total. These candidates only earned 100, so D must have the other 50, right? So now I'm doing this 150 minus that number, and so we get 50. So D has 50 points. Now that I know that, that's more than A, so D is our winner. Alrighty, and that's it. So there's something like that on there. Then the rest are just like, who's the winner? What's the complete ranking? Okay.